What's up, fellow subscribers? Welcome back to the M.I.B. Master Toy Museum. I'll be your curator today. Guys, it's that time again. Coffee time with M.I.B. We want you guys, wherever you're at, put on a fresh pot of coffee, pull up a seat, and let's get into a very hot topic of discussion. And today, guys, like I said, I do my best thinking over a cup of coffee. I want to discuss, because it's popped in my mind. It just popped right into my mind. And I find it better if I just go with it when I have this thought in my head of what I want to discuss with you guys over a hot cup of coffee. I want to discuss today, guys, one of the most misunderstood MEGO figures from, I would say, Wave 3 and Wave 4. The face of the screaming werewolf. This was a figure that garnered a massive amount of attention when it was first announced that it would be a Wave 3 release. You know, we saw pre-production prototypes. We saw all types of photos of this figure. And then when you sprinkled in the Target situation of not being able to have these figures readily available to the consumers, to the public, that sent the asking price, that sent the fever pitch of wanting these figures to a whole new level. But then, okay, then when we finally got these figures, when these figures finally were spotted like Bigfoot on the Target's website at obscene hours, 2, 3 in the morning, people after refreshing their web page, then we found out that a lot of collectors weren't blown away by this figure. They weren't satisfied. They weren't satisfied with this figure. Everything from the head sculpt, the paint job, the clothing, the reused hands and feet. It put a lot of collectors off. And we could go on YouTube and we can watch numerous videos that reflect a lot of the collectors' community frustration with the figure. And then MEGO came back out with Wave 4 with a new souped up version of the face of the screaming werewolf. And now we're hearing that they're coming out with a even more souped up version. And they're just going to call it I want to say the werewolf. And he's going to be flocked with real hair. So I'm excited about that. But this is my take on it, because I never truly addressed, how I felt about the face of the screaming werewolf. And I never addressed the frustration that a lot of my peers and a lot of the collecting community had about these figures. They wanted more bang for their buck. They wanted better production. They wanted better product. And people just didn't feel MEGO delivered on any of those counts. MEGO didn't check any of those boxes. Well, I felt they did, and I'll tell you why. And this is professional opinion. You know, we're going to agree to disagree. But, and I could see a lot of my fellow collectors' points, you know. But what MEGO did, and we'll look back, we may not appreciate this. At least I will. But a lot of collectors won't appreciate this maybe for another 20 or 30 years. The quirkiness of this initial Wave 3 Face of the Screaming Werewolf figure, the way he was put together, the paint job, the tattered clothes that seemed as though it was overkill on that. Watch in 20 to 30 years, this is going to be the most popular MEGO figure from any wave. That's debatable, guys. Leave your comments. You know, if you say M.I.B, what's in that coffee? Okay. Leave your comments right underneath this video. I want to hear it. I'm telling you right now, what a lot of collectors won't realize until it's decades down the road is that what you're staring at now is going to be the sleeper hit of any wave that MEGO has already put out. And we're looking at waves between waves 1 and 5 or 1 and 4. That this figure will be looked back on, and people can look in their collections and go into their collection rooms and look at that figure and say, you know what? M.I.B had a great point. This figure is one of the most sought after, one of the most rarest, one of the most difficult figures to obtain. And it's not only did it hold its value, it increased in value because of the quirkiness, because of the tattered clothes, because of the supposedly poor production. And guys, we can agree to disagree. But isn't that how action figures from the past became so popular and so sought after and so rare? It was always the misunderstood figures, the quirky figures, the figures that no one thought would garner any type of fandom or fanfare, whichever you want to call it. And that's the way I see it. Now, these figures are numbered. The numbering order is different now that MEGO's going with. They're just going with single numbers now, as opposed to telling you exactly what's the limit. You got a 10,000 run on the Wave 3 Face of the Screaming Werewolves. Guys, what do you think? I think that for most collectors that have this figure in their collection, they are sitting on, or they possess, a smash hit. And you probably won't realize that until 10 to 15 years from now, if you don't realize it already. Guys, I realize it already. I've always thought that this figure would be a smash hit. It's misunderstood. It's disliked by a number of collecting communities. They want the universal appeal. They want that Universal Studios appeal. They want that werewolf. And what MEGO did was very clever. They went around the back door and found another way to help scratch that itch that so many collectors have been clamoring for. Guys, I'm just sipping my coffee. We're talking about the misunderstood MEGO figure known as the face of the screaming werewolf. You can make your comparisons. You can say this figure doesn't match up with other werewolf figures. True enough. But what MEGO figure will actually match up with a Diamond Select or Hot Toys, or because you're talking now, we're getting into articulation. We're getting into a lot of money actually at that point. I think the face of the screaming werewolf figure holds its own value and can hold its own weight against any action figure out there. Not just because it has the MEGO logo. There's a certain quality, there is a certain charm about this figure. I am a huge werewolf fan anyway. Wolfman, werewolf, whatever you want to call him. I've always been. He's been one of my favorite monsters since I was a kid, growing up in the 1970s. So there wasn't a werewolf movie out, especially the Lon Chaney ones, that I didn't see at some point in time in my life and fell in love with. But what's your thoughts on it? What's your feelings about this misunderstood MEGO action figure? Did MEGO do enough? Did MEGO do too little? Should MEGO went another way? And like I said, they're trying. You're seeing the slow evolution of the face of the screaming werewolf figure. You see him from wave 3, different color, different paint job, to wave 4, different color, different paint job, more intense. And now we'll be getting an interim wave. I call it the wave 4.0 or wave 5, whatever you want to call it. Some people are calling it wave 6. The flocked werewolf figure with real hair. But it's something that MEGO has been really adjusting and tinkering with this particular figure. He's got to be popular enough to have made it through all of these waves. He's one of the few monsters that's made it through multiple waves. But he's a misunderstood MEGO figure. And I'm telling you guys, and I know some guys don't want to hear this. This figure, you guys gave this figure a bad rap for all the wrong reasons. You have to look a little deeper and see the true charm and genius of this figure. It's the quirky figures that will stand the test of time. It's the quirky figures that you never thought 20, 30 years ago would amount to anything. And those are the ones that are extremely hard to find. You can look at a ton of Star Wars figures, 3 and a quarter inch figures, the small ones, and see how some of those quirky little figures, characters that barely made it on screen, are now some of the most sought after figures of all time. You don't know what you truly have in your collection with this screaming face of screaming werewolf. You just don't know what you have. And we hope that this coffee time with M.I.B. segment kind of shed some light on that and kind of make you guys revisit this figure. Grab your coffee, go into your collection room and study this figure. Look at this figure. You have a sleeper hit on your hands with this face of a screaming werewolf. Where it lacks in just overall quality build or paint job or clothing, it makes up for it in pure charm. Guys, we're not pulling any punches, so we don't expect you guys to pull any punches. I want to hear your thoughts on this. A lot of you guys got this figure. A lot of you guys have negatively slammed this figure. I challenge you to come on the M.I.B. Master Toy Museum channel and debate this with us. Share your thoughts, at the least. The most misunderstood MEGO figure right now is the face of the screaming werewolf. Hit or miss? Some of you guys think it's more hit than miss. A lot of you guys think, MEGO should have went with the universal license, which they couldn't obtain anyway. And another portion of you guys think if they couldn't do any better than this, they shouldn't have done it at all. I'm here to tell you that you guys are going to be scratching your head in 15 to 20 years when you see that this figure is one of the most popular and sought after and rarest figures in your MEGO collection. 15 to 20 years from now. You're going to be kicking yourself. So use this video, the coffee time with M.I.B. Use this video as a time capsule so we can revisit this in 10 to 15 years. And you tell me how right I was or how wrong I was. Guys, you have a Powerball ticket in your collection and you truly can't appreciate it. You don't know it because you don't see the figure as that. Guys, if you only have one of these figures, go out and buy another one. Keep him on a card. He's that special. Guys, you know the routine. God bless. Keep drinking your coffee. and keep collecting.